The last thing I expected at 70 years old was for my heart to start over. Not after losing my wife. Not after spending 4 years learning how to live with silence. And certainly not after making what I thought was a harmless joke. But life has a strange way of finding us when we've convinced ourselves we're beyond finding. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. I was standing outside a small community center, struggling to carry a box of donated winter coats to my truck. My knees weren't what they used to be, and the box was heavier than I wanted to admit. Before I could take another step, someone appeared beside me. "Here, let me help." I turned and saw a woman holding an umbrella. She couldn't have been older than she had kind eyes, wind-blown brown hair, and the sort of smile that immediately made people feel comfortable. "I've got it," I said. She laughed. That's exactly what every stubborn man says before dropping a box. A moment later, she lifted one side effortlessly. Together, we carried it to the truck. "Thank you," I said. "I'm Rachel." Waruta. 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 "Nice to meet you, Walter." At the time, I had no idea that simple introduction would change the rest of my life. After my wife, Margaret, passed away from cancer, I stopped participating in the world. I still existed. I still paid bills, still mowed the lawn, still attended family gatherings. But there was a difference between living and merely continuing. Most mornings felt the same. Coffee, alone. Breakfast, alone. Television, silence. More silence. My daughter worried about me constantly. "Dad, you need people in your life." I always smiled and assured her I was fine. The truth was, I wasn't. Loneliness is a strange thing. It doesn't always hurt loudly. Sometimes it settles into your life so gradually that you stop noticing it. Then one day you realize you haven't laughed in months. Meeting Rachel changed that. She coordinated volunteer programs at the community center. Every week she organized food drives, clothing donations, tutoring programs, and support groups for struggling families. What struck me wasn't how hard she worked. It was how she treated people. Everyone. Everyone. The homeless veteran who came in for meals. The exhausted single mother carrying 2 toddlers. The teenager trying to stay out of trouble. The elderly widower sitting alone in the corner. Rachel treated every person like they mattered, because, to her, they did. Over the next several months, I started volunteering. At first, I told myself I was just helping, but if I was honest, I looked forward to seeing Rachel. We became friends. Real friends. The kind who shared stories over coffee after long volunteer shifts. The kind who talked about life, loss, fears, and dreams. One evening, after serving dinner at a shelter, we sat outside watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. Rachel smiled. "Beautiful, isn't it?" "It is. You know what I love about sunsets?" "What?" They remind us that endings can still be beautiful. I looked at her. There was wisdom in her words. The kind that usually comes from surviving difficult things. Who taught you that? I asked. She stared toward the horizon. Life. Life. I didn't ask further. Not then. Months passed. Our friendship deepened. People started noticing. Some teased us. Others raised eyebrows. Rachel ignored them. So
did I.
At least outwardly. Inside, things were more complicated. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing her as simply a friend, and that terrified me. I was 70. She was 40. 24 years separated us, an entire generation. The idea seemed ridiculous. So I buried those feelings, or at least tried to. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. The community center was hosting its annual fundraising banquet. Volunteers spent weeks preparing. Rachel practically lived there during the final days. When the event finally ended, we found ourselves cleaning tables long after everyone else had gone home. Rachel sank into a chair and laughed. I think my feet officially quit. You earned a vacation. Maybe next year? I smiled. You know, if I were 20 years younger, I'd propose. The words slipped out casually. A joke. A compliment. A harmless observation. At least, that's what I intended. Rachel stopped wiping the table. She looked at me. Really looked at me. Then she smiled. Age doesn't matter to me. My heart forgot how to beat. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Neither of us spoke. For a long moment, we simply stared at each other. Then, someone called her name from across the room. She stood. But before walking away, she squeezed my hand, and everything changed. That night, I barely slept. I replayed the conversation over and over. Had she meant it? Was I imagining things? Was I foolish? Too hopeful? Too old? The next morning, my daughter called. Dad, you sound weird. Weird? Nervous? Weird? I laughed. Maybe I'm having a heart attack. No, she paused. It's a woman, isn't it? Children never stop knowing their parents. Eventually, I told her about Rachel. There was a long silence. Then she said something unexpected. Dad, are you happy when you're with her? Yes, then that's all I care about. I sat quietly. Sometimes love arrives through unexpected people. So does acceptance. A few weeks later, Rachel finally shared the story she had been avoiding. We were delivering food boxes to families before Christmas. Snow covered the